I think it's zero support. Apart from words, they claim that the Palestinian issue is their first issue. We hear it every day, but even they don't give money to the Palestinian. None. They don't give money, though the Palestinian government is in financial crisis. And I think who decides the support? It's not the presidents of the Arab world or the kings. It's the Americans. If the Americans want, the any support, even financial support, they would do. Saudi Arabia used to give money, Iraq, and and they were banned from giving any penny to the Palestinians. And just words, we hear words, and but unfortunately and sadly, that the Palestinian government is still have illusions about. They don't want to. They want to justify their existence by saying that Saudi Arabia supports the Palestinian issue politically. They still have relations with Morocco, with the Emirates, with everyone. It's the problem is the existence of the continuation of the Palestinian authority. This is the another crisis for the Palestinians. I'm sorry to say that. No support, zero support. Words.
Muin, do you have anything to say about what's been happening?
Well, just to clarify, the 1994 Israeli-Jordanian treaty you mentioned was a bilateral affair. And it wasn't intended to encompass any Palestinian dimension. It was very unlike, for example, the 1979 Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty, in which Egypt presumed to be securing Palestinian rights, and by not doing so, effectively gave Israel a carte blanche to continue its settlement expansion in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. I think the 1994 treaty, which came after Oslo, was very much bilateral. In terms of the Abraham Accords, as you mentioned, and I find, by the way, Abraham Accords such a pointlessly grandiloquent term for what are effectively a series of bilateral normalization agreements. As far as these normalization accords are concerned, they don't even pay lip service to the Palestinians. And I think this reflects a number of changing regional and international dynamics, which is that these Arab states conduct relations with Israel, both in order to secure Israeli support for their regional policies and in order to secure American support. So they're effectively paying the United States, the Arab states, the Arab governments are paying the United States in Palestinian coin in order to benefit from American support for various things, whether it's F-35s to Abu Dhabi or recognition of illegal claims of sovereignty over Western Sahara in the case of Morocco, enhanced domestic repression in Bahrain, or what have you. And again, there's another dynamic here, which is that the Palestinian weakness and the Palestinian schism has also made it much easier for these Arab governments to ignore Palestinian interests in their policies with Israel. And if you look at the public level, there's been issues there as well, because in effect, Hamas and the Palestinian Authority are not asking the Arab peoples to support the Palestinians in their struggle against Israel. They're asking people to support Hamas against Fatah or to support Fatah against Hamas. But what we've seen is that as soon as you get a clearly national emphasis on the issue again, as you had around the events of the summer of 2021, almost instantaneously, you begin to see a groundswell of support, popular support within the Arab world that was all the more remarkable given that there were multiple wars and civil conflicts taking place in multiple Arab states, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and elsewhere. And this groundswell of popular support, in turn, makes it increasingly difficult for Arab governments to continue in such a shameless manner in their normalization policies towards Israel.
Sana, do you want to comment on the Arab world?
Okay. It's first. It's past midnight at our times, and I'm very tired, so I lost some of the conversation. I just want to say that we should always be very clear to distinguish between the Arab regimes and the Arab people. This is very clear. And I was surprised that Musa is complaining that the Saudi stopped paying the PLO. Our problem is that the PLO was getting money from these Gulf states. This is the real problem of the PLO. And this is the real problem of the leftist factions in the PLO, because they got along with Arafat, accepting him taking the money from the PLO. And this is what that led to the disaster. But again, although I refuse to watch the World Cup, but the solidarity of the ordinary people with the Palestinian is really, really heartwarming. I've never seen in my life ordinary people from Tunisia, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, showing this support to the Palestinian people, which shows us that, yes, what the governments do and what the people want are completely two different things in our Arab world. And we keep on saying Zionism, imperialism, but also our oppressive regimes are our problem. This is what I think, but I still have very high hopes in the Arab people. This is what I want to say.
What do you say to that? Musa, how do you respond to that?
I think, the Arab, people are always, they haven't changed, but they cannot do anything to the Arab regimes. No democracy. They wouldn't change, even if they go out for demonstrations supporting the Palestinians. No demonstration in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf. No. Just they support, they sympathize with the Palestinians, but it would not change the situation. It would not, support the politics of Palestine. It has been the case all the time. Though at some time, some Saudi, people, started to, say against the Palestinians, the people. But when the Mondial and in Qatar, it was, an opportunity for people to express, and the media, focus on this. It's not, there is a change also in the Arab. They received the Israelis and the Emirates, the people. They cooperate with them. They,
yeah, but this is what they wanted us to believe.
They have business, and I agree with Marina. It's the weakness of the Palestinian to encourage, the governments, the Arab governments, and even the people. When you are strong, people support you. When you are weak, no one supports you.
On the subject of wrapping up, in Norman's notes, he asked what after the conversation, what do you see differently, or what do you learn? Well, I had so many notes, much more than the notes that I sent you guys, that I prepared for this conversation. And I didn't get to a lot of them because honestly, at this point, just hearing the specific, experiential perspectives, does it matter what the proximal causes were of the first Intifada? I mean, you heard the actual stories. You heard how people were living. You heard of the terror that they were under, right? It shouldn't take a lot of thought to connect those experiences with the fact that people will want to resist, right? This is a perpetual thing in human history. There's nothing more complex or different about the Palestinian struggle versus these other struggles. Notice that in this conversation, barely anyone even mentioned religion. It's just not important, right? We're talking about a space issue, a land issue. We're talking about the everyday terror that everyday normal people live under. And that's sufficient, I feel, for understanding the conflict as a whole, as well as any other number of interrelated conflicts in the future or the past or the present.